Good morning, boys and girls. We are going to jump right into comprehension this week. Our story is Special Effects in Film and Television by Jake Hamilton. Our question of the week is, how do artists create special effects to entertain us? The genre is expository text, and expository texts explain what certain things are and how they came to be. Our story last week, Mahalia Jackson, was also an expository text, and it told us about blues and about Mahalia Jackson. As you read our text, I want you to notice how the author explains how artists makes miniature models for movie sets. I want you to go ahead and pause and looking at our graphic sources, our pictures, our title. I want you to make a prediction about what you think this story will be about. I want you to write it down on a piece of paper because at the end of today's lesson, there will be a little comment box underneath the video. And I want you to tell me, was your prediction correct or was it incorrect? And I want you to tell me why was it correct or incorrect? Basically, what details made you choose your prediction? Alrighty, let's go ahead and get started reading. In miniature, special effects, SFX, is the art of making the impossible into a fantastic reality. Special effects has always pushed the boundaries of human imagination. It keeps today's movie and television audiences glued to their seats in starry eyed wonder. The art of miniature model making has always been an important part of special effects in movies. Some movie stories have big, spectacular action filled scenes. They may call for fights between dinosaurs, explosions on the Golden Gate Bridge, or an armed force charging through the desert. Movie makers can save time and money by making models for these scenes. This article tells the story of the building of a miniature landscape for a television show. You can see this is a camcorder and it's got all the different labels for all the different parts, and it gives you more information about the camcorder. That's a great example of a graphic source. We're going to go through the steps of how a miniature model is made. Step one, a general idea. A special effects team must build a prehistoric world in a workshop. The team's first step is to make a concept model of this mini world. The model will give a general view of what the finished product will look like. This model shows that the landscape will include a fallen tree and a circular lake. You can see their model here. It says this is only 1 foot by 1 foot. That means it is 1 ruler long and 1 ruler wide. That's really, really little. And this is just a concept of what they want their model to look like in the actual movie. Step two, getting larger. The movie makers study this concept model to decide on the size and shape of the finished product. Then they make a larger and more detailed prototype model. This gives them a clear picture of how the finished product will look. The prototype comes in sections that are fitted together like a puzzle piece. This 2 foot by 2 foot prototype is fully painted and fitted with bushes and trees. Now the team can work on the final product. So they made this about twice the size of their first model. It says the final model landscape will be in three main sections. White areas show where the dinosaurs are between the main sections. This is a cardboard representation of an early reptile. So it looks like this little thing right here is supposed to be a reptile, and it's just made out of cardboard right now. So they're going to have to finish it and make it look more realistic as they continue with their steps. Let's go to the next page. So, step three, getting started. The full size miniature model will be 24 feet by 24 feet. Wow. If you remember, the first model they made was only 1 foot by 1 foot. The second model was 2 foot by 2 foot. And their miniature, the full size miniature model, is going to be 24 feet by 24 feet. Building it will take real cooperation among all the SSX team members. The model's base is made of the kind of plastic used in fast food cups and boxes. Model makers carve the plastic surface to make hills and valleys and rivers and lakes. They use references such as pictures of trees and rocks to guide them. These model makers are using photographs of a dry riverbed as a guide. You can see right here it says model makers carve details in ground of model's front section. So this is showing the model makers actually working on the foam that they're carving the ground out of. This is a miniature trees and bushes are modeled with plastic and paint as well as real pieces of greenery. So they're actually using some fake pieces and some real pieces. Step 4, carving it out. Here, the model makers are cutting out the area of the huge circular lake at the heart of the model. They will then add more surface detail and mark out other features in the landscape. Step 5, rebuilding. The model is cut into sections so it can be taken on trucks to the television studio. Since the model is so large and detailed, each section is numbered. That way, when the pieces reach the studio, they can be reassembled easily. This picture says rebuilding the landscape to just like putting a big jigsaw puzzle together. If you remember, it said they cut them into smaller sections like puzzle pieces, but these are numbered. So it's a little bit easier than an actual puzzle. You can see on the screen that my Savage Realize will not load the pictures on page 459. So if you are able to go back to your main selection and see the pictures and the graphic sources on this page, that is great. If not, you can also look up the story on YouTube, and the pictures will be in there while the person reads it to you. I know that sometimes we have technical difficulties, and clearly my Savage Realize account is having one today. But step 6, foaming the model. At the studio, the model is put back together, and the miniature trees, rocks, and other surface details are all put in place. Then a technician wearing a special protective suit sprays the model. He uses a light foam made from toxic chemicals. The foam gives the surface of the model a smooth, natural look. He also adds bumps and dips to the surface. This makes it look just like a real landscape. It says to protect against toxic fumes, the technician wears a respirator. That is something that helps you breathe clean air even when the air around you is dirty. In the studio, step 7, putting the miniature landscape back together takes a great deal of attention to detail. Every last tree, bush, and rock must be exactly in place. A huge painted backdrop of blue sky streaked with clouds has been placed on the far wall. Lights positioned overhead will give the landscape more texture and shadow. And this little text box down here says technician's head pops up between two of the main landscape sections. So you can kind of see part of the picture here. The other part is cut off a little bit, but you can see the background with the sky, the lights above. You can even see how realistic part of this landscape looks. And it says that there was a technician probably about right here whose head was kind of popping up in between the two main sections. So, my few questions for you before I want you to comment if your prediction was correct right below this are how are the technicians able to correctly reassemble the model? And what page is this information on? That's right, guys. The pieces are numbered so that the models can be reassembled in the studio. And that information was actually on page 458 under step 5, rebuilding the model. All right, my second and last question for you is do you think plastic foam is a good material for the model's base? Why or why not? If you remember in step 3, it talked about that they use plastic foam material that fast food cups and boxes are made out of. Do you think that that's a good material for them to use? Why or why not? That's a great answer, guys. I think that it is a good material because plastic foam is both lightweight and it cuts or carves easily. I know at school sometimes we have the little plastic to go boxes, and some of my students will draw on the top of them. I'm sure if you've ever had a to go box and you wanted to make sure that no one else took it, you may have carved your name into the top of them. So that just shows you how easy that material is to cut and carve. So I feel like it's a very good material for them to make models out of because it's really easy to make those landscapes look realistic with all the dips and curves and cracks in the landscape. So that is all we're going to read today. We will finish our story tomorrow, but make sure that right below this, you comment whether your prediction was correct and tell me why or why it was not correct. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Make sure you read your story for a second time on your own before I see you tomorrow.